day to one and all. Thanks for tuning in. And thanks for coming back to yet another episode of Sometimes the Old Man is Right. As usual, I am your host, Lamont Ferguson, playing the role of the old man. Old man still out at sea. That's what I am. Still out there, doing what I do. This is episode 32 of the podcast. I know. It's quite a number, 32. 32 is Magic Johnson's number. That's what 32 is. Magic Johnson's my favorite basketball player of all time. And, man, I loved myself some Magic watching that guy play. He was magical is what it was. It's what he was doing out there on the court. I remember the first time I saw him play, I was in junior high school. So get the Wayback Machine going for the kids that are listening, because there used to be a thing called junior high school that was there was no middle school. I don't know if it was a district thing or whatever it was, but I just know in the area I lived in, it was junior high school. You know, you went K through 6 elementary, 7th and 8th was junior high school, and then you went on to high school. And then when we moved out to San Diego, there was this thing called middle school. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what people were talking about middle school. The fact that there were 3 grades there, that made no sense to me. But anyway, I saw him play. I was in junior high school. He was obviously in college. He came down the lane on a break. He faked to the left, and the guy on the left, the defender, went for the fake pass as if he was going to pass it, and then Magic kept the ball and just laid it up and in. And that was it. I was hooked. I was like, that dude outsmarted the defender. It had nothing to do with athleticism. He just made him think he was going to pass. That guy bit, and then I was like, that's Magic. I patterned my game after Magic. Man, oh man, I was Magic on that court. I was a foot shorter, but I was wanted to be everything the Magic was on a basketball court. So that's what 32 is. I was all about Magic Johnson. So this episode will be all about Magic Johnson, but it'll be, kind of in his honor. 32. I don't know if it'll be magical. I'm going to try. I'll do my best. Magic's birthday was last week. Magic Johnson is 63 years old. That is a little crazy, right? Because you think, well, Magic can't be 63. 63? It can't be. He's not 63. You ever do that? You ever seen someone's has a birthday and then you're amazed by the number because you forget to factor in your own age? Like, you think Magic can't be 63 because I'm only 38. So how can he be 63? Well, because you're not 38, dummy. You're 57. You're in denial, you dork. That is odd how age assessment works. Like, we have to come to terms with what I believe to be 3 phases or factors or states, whichever one matches, all at the same time. And I don't think they ever come into congruence. Huh? How about that? Threw that word in there. I pulled that out of nowhere. Because, first of all, you ever seen people and they say, I've had this happen all the time. Somebody will say that they're the same age as you, and then you look at them and think, oh my good, is that what I look like? Do I look like that? Like I'm that? Like you think you look old. Do I look that old? And the truth is probably you do. You probably do. But it is so weird that you go, hey, you know what? Maybe you should take a look in the mirror and see what's going on there. The mirror will kind of tell you. Only if you get up close, though. Only if you get really close. A lot of times you stand back. The mirror's not HD. The mirror's not a photograph. Photographs are the things that truly keep time. Because if whatever you think you are, as far as how young you believe you are, Take a look at a picture of yourself when you are that age and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't look anything like that. Yeah, but that's what you think you look like. It has nothing to do with that. Although in the mirror, like you may get away from the mirror, especially in the hotels. You ever been in the hotels when they got that magnifying mirror? Who is that for? Who needs to see that in depth of their face? What are we doing with the magnifying mirror? Are we doing surgery? I don't need to see how the pores work. I don't need to see, you know how they always tell you that there's organisms that live on your skin? I don't need to see those organisms. I don't know what that magnifying mirror in the hotel is for. It's too much. No one ever needs to see that much. I don't know what you're prepping for. Who is ever going to be that close to your face? And even if you were that close to your face, you're not seeing it like that. It's a magnifying mirror. Unless you're wearing crazy Mr. Magoo type glasses and you got people right up against your cheek. Like that, I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I believe there are 3 states of aging, like I said, that all have to come into agreement. And I don't know if they ever do. Because there's how old you are. That's, according to the calendar and time, that's the number. This is it. You're this amount of age, this amount of years. And then I believe there's the how old you feel. I think that how old you are and how old you feel are the closest to coming to terms with in agreement. Like, I think if you said, oh, how old I am, all right, I'm 57. How old do you feel? And you go, I think I feel about 60. Or in your mind, what you believe 60 to be. Those are the closest. Those 2 are the closest, I believe. And then there's the how old your brain tells you are. That has nothing to do with feel or actual numbers. It's just how old your brain tells you are. Like, I'll have to be honest. In my head, I think I'm about 35. That's what I think. I think I'm about 35 in my head. And then my body goes, dude, you're nowhere near 35. You could flip those numbers around and be 53. And I don't even think you're there. The body says, I think that you felt better when you were 53. But it's getting all those things to come together. Anyway, this is episode 32. And a belated happy birthday to Magic Johnson. Episode 32 feels like episode 28. My mind says it's episode 13. There. How's that? We got everything to work together. What's up, partners? How you doing? What's the good word? I hope you're all well. I thank you all for being here. I'm well. Thanks for asking. Well, folks, here we are. We start off with a recap. And then there was a little short of 3 weeks, let's say 2+ weeks, let's go there, left. It's kind of the backstretch. I'm coming up on the back turn. Because what once was 10 is now down to 2+ is what it is as far as weeks. I am, in essence, kind of starting out my week. This is day 3 of the cruise when there's 3 weeks left. But I kind of start out because I don't start working until day 3. So I work tonight. We have, where are we going today? We're on our way to the Hubbard Glacier today. The weather isn't great. So again, I will feel a little bad for these people. It's cloudy and rainy and quite a bit chilly. So hopefully visibility will be good for these people to be able to see the glacier, which is impressive. It is, what is it they keep telling? It's the largest tidewater glacier in the world. I don't I don't know what that means. I just know the word large and glacier were involved, so it's impressive. It is impressive. So that is what we are doing. And then after this, hit Sitka, Ketchikan, then Victoria, and then hit Seattle. And then it'll start all over again. But then there'll just be 2 weeks left. 2 weeks. 10 weeks now, almost down to 2 weeks. It's been all right. I got comic friends that are concerned about saying how you holding up, that's nice. It's very nice to have that type of support system where people know, because as comics, there's a certain threshold that you hit where it becomes a little craziness, a little stir craziness of being by yourself, in essence, out on the road. And a friend of mine had said, yeah, it can get to be like an assembly line, which is very true. That is what it kind of feels like, that you just show up at this job and, you get your same routine going. That helps. The routine helps, but it does have that assembly line type of feel to it, because once you get locked in with the set's always going to be the set. But I am doing well. I'm holding up well. I've done longer stints, I think. Have I? Okay, maybe not. Maybe about this time. Because you do 6 weeks in Absolute. At times you did 2 weeks at each club, and then I would follow that up with 2 weeks in Calgary. So, I guess this would be the longest amount of time, because that's only 8 weeks, and this is 10. So in essence, I'm kind of in uncharted waters. Huh? Oh my goodness, I should end this podcast now. Ridiculous. But I'm all right. I'm doing well. Mainly because I've got, what I've got? I've got the pickleball. That's what I have. And this particular cruise, there's quite a few folks on here that they're serious about their pickleball, and they're good players. Now, I've never said whether I was a good player. I'm an okay player. I can get the ball back over the net and do what it is I need to do. I told you about this on one of the other episodes where I'm learning the stuff about third shot drops and all this other stuff like that. So I'm a decent enough player, but these people that are on here, there's 2 of them that I have no business being on the same court with at all. But it's been fun. Matter of fact, to the point where we schedule our own times. So the ship schedules 9 a.m. for pickleball, and we got together and said, how about we meet at 8? So then we don't have to deal with the rotation of people coming up here that are new to the game and that we have to teach the game. So we could just get some games in amongst ourselves. So we're going to meet at 8 instead of 9. And I'm like, all right, I'm in. So my pickleball is picked up. It's picked up with meeting an hour earlier. And I kind of like it. Although it is frustrating. Now, I never played golf, nor do I have any intention to play golf, but I'm feeling like that with this group of pickleball players. Because what I believe has happened in golf is that it's very frustrating. Like, you'll hit a bunch of great shots, but you can't replicate it. A guy said you hit enough good shots to keep you coming back. And that's what I feel like in pickleball, is that I'm getting better, but now it's slowed down. Like, the progress is slowed down. Like, I'll hit some really good shots, but then I'll hit an equal number of amateurish horrible shots. And that's frustrating, because you'd have thought that number would have gone down by now. But it is what it is. So that's the catch up on the pickleball. That's the pickleball segment for this week's podcast. The other thing I'm pretty sure that you may be interested in is the Badass Kids Report. The Badass Kids Report, brought to you by Ritalin. I don't know. That would be the sponsor for the Badass Kids Report. Is that because it's getting closer to September and getting, further in the year, there aren't as many badass kids because there aren't as many kids. Last week, I will tell you, zero. I saw zero badass kids last week. And this week, there are a minimal amount of kids altogether. So I've yet to see any badassery because there haven't been that many kids. And the further we go along, the more this just returns to normal Holland America, where it's just older people on the ship. And so there's your badass kid report. I won't be giving you updates on that because they're now in school doing whatever badass things they do in school. Other than that, all is well. Now, here's something that happened. I originally had recorded this podcast or got ready to record the podcast, and then things started changing, and then I wanted things to wait and simmer down. Simmer down now. That's what I wanted them to do, simmer down. And so then I thought, all right, let me just do this one. Let me knock this one out. So, like I said, I work tonight. I just got a call about an hour ago from the entertainment director on the ship where we've got things, things happen, whether it's COVID or injuries. We got dancers on the ship, and the dancers are, real, legit dancers doing a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't think the human body could be able to do. A lot of bending, a lot of jumping, all this type of stuff. So I guess one was hurt, and now another is hurt. So now we're down production shows on the ship, and that's where the comic comes in, because the comic is the ultimate utility weapon. That's what the comic is on the ship. They have the most difficult job, the most original job, and they're the utility person because they require minimal things. Microphone, a stool. I require audio visual stuff, but I'm an anomaly. That's not every comic, and even that is minimal. So I got the call to say, well, can I help out? Can I put a my third show, which is Saturday night, the night we're in Victoria, can I put that in the theater? And he originally had asked to do the 7:30 or 7 o'clock, and then you still keep my original time for 9:30. So, I'm never going to see Victoria, which I'll get to in just a second. If I could do that also in the theater, which I originally said yes to, and then I thought, no, that's not going to work. Because at 7 p.m., everyone is still going to be on the ship. So the theater could be full. The theater could, or at least have a nice number of people in there. At 9:30, everyone is off the ship. The theater seats 800 plus people. I'm not even sure what the exact number is, but I know it's over 800 people. BB King seats maybe 200, and at most, what I get in that room on that particular show, the average works out to about 100, 125. So it makes no sense to do that show in the theater. You put 125 people in an 800-seat theater and then tell the comic to good luck. You might as well be doing open mic at the stadium, for crying out loud. So I got them to change and keep the 9:30 show in the BB King Lounge. We'll do the 7 p.m. show. But now the challenge for me is this. What do I do? I mean, I'm doing 3 separate shows as is, and the show will be fine in the theater. I don't know if I went over this, or maybe I was just talking to other comics about it. It is an interesting show, the third show, because the way that I've built. Now I'm going to take you behind the curtain and take you behind the workings of stand-up comedy here for just a second. You're going to get some of the in-depth, weird science part of technical parts of stand-up comedy. I was telling my friends that it is a weird third show because, one, I'm doing an hour. I've done 3 shows in a row that were an hour long. I'm only contracted to do a half hour, but I've done an hour because, they're there. They're staying. They seem to enjoy it, and I'm having a good time. But it's an hour that if I were to do that hour in a club as my entrance into the club, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that particular hour. It is an hour that works very well if you've already seen me twice do separate things, different material, 2 separate times. It becomes the hour that you do for your fan base, to where when people go, oh, this guy is really funny, and they go, well, I don't know, I didn't really get it, that thing I just saw, and then they would tell you, no, you got to watch his first 2 specials. Then you'll understand where he's coming from and what he's talking about. Some of the jokes themselves, they stand on their own. It's just as far as compilation of an hour, you want an hour to be powerful and strong. This becomes, the best way to describe it is, it's an evening with Lamont Ferguson. That's the best way to describe it. Jokes are solid, jokes are funny, but like I said, I wouldn't trust the hour to work as I would want it to work on a first impression thing. So that will be interesting in that aspect of doing that in the theater. The other thing is that for the 4th show, the 9:30 show, now what do I do? Because the majority of these people will have already seen almost 3 hours, let's say 2 hours and 40 minutes of material of me. And so I told the entertainment director that that 4th set in BB King will be a club set, and it'll be a workout set. So I've got a lot of premises and a lot of stuff that I've been writing over the past weeks of being here that I thought had good promise to be able to get into the show. I sneak them in when I can, but I've not been able to sneak everything in. So on that 4th show, I'm pulling everything out, going up, and we're working out. We're working out, and then there'll be a club set, so there might be more profanity, or there might be profanity, because the other shows have very little profanity, if any, in these shows. So stay tuned. Stay tuned to see how this thing works out. As I said earlier today to a friend of mine, I said, as to paraphrase what Captain Kirk said to Captain Picard in that Star Trek movie where they were together, it'll be fun. And then Captain Kirk died. So this is what may take place. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. But I accept the challenge. I have accepted the glove slap to the face, and it is on. So I'm ready. Like I said, that 4th night will be, or 3rd night will be in Victoria, which is the capital of British Columbia, if I may be so bold to show off my elementary knowledge of Canada, which is impressive to the Canadians, mainly because, well, Americans know so little about Canada and pretty much anything else, if you want to be truthful about these things. Like, we know nothing about Canada. And they go, well, what do you know about anything else? And they go, yeah, we know nothing about anything else, to tell you the truth. If we can be honest, we're not. I've said this on different segments of different things. I think I talked about this on the Now Normal, where, and maybe I've even talked about it on this platform too. Look, the truth, we're not a bright country, America. We're not. We just aren't. You have to take a step back from all the rah-rah of American propaganda of we're number one, we're the best, blah, 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 blah. And just go, why are so many people willing to risk their lives to come to this country? Like, people often ask, what makes America great? And then people run off some of the list of things of what it is that makes America great. And then there'll be another list of things as to why it's not great. But I'm going to tell you, plain and simple, what makes America great is the minimal qualifications to be successful. That really is what it is. It doesn't take much to be very successful in America. Other countries, oh my goodness, they all believe the backbone is education. Have you ever seen an educated person, well, this is not a country, but come out of the continent of Africa? And the way that they speak English, you think you're not even speaking English. The way how precise that they speak English coming from the continent of Africa, or any country that has education in Africa. It is crazy, or even any other country, because education's not our thing, man. It's not what will get you by in America. There's so many very well-educated people in America that are struggling to get by. What you have to know to make it in America is frighteningly minimal. You ever seen or spoken to a person so dumb that you question how they survived? You're like, how do you make it home every single day? Like, there is no possible way with your level of not knowing anything that you leave the house and return to the house safely every single day. How is that possible? And that is what makes America great, because there are tons of those people. You have to know really very little. They used to tell us in school, you got to learn this. You got to learn this, otherwise you're not going to make it in life. It turns out there's not a single thing that you learned in school that you have to know for you to make it in life. Zero. Nothing at all. You don't have to know math, because most of the people don't. You don't have to know how to spell, because thanks to the internet, we found out that most people don't know how to spell. And they're fine. They pick up paychecks every 2 weeks. They got a house. They drive a car. So far we've eliminated math and spelling. I'm assuming they can read. I guess reading is probably the most important thing that you need to know from school. I think reading, and that's it. So if you have a kid and put that kid in school, just go, look, all you got to know is how to read. You don't have to know how to do anything else. Just learn how to read and you'll be good. Reading's the most important thing we've got. That's what we've made it. You know, like I said, you don't have to know math. You don't have to know how to spell. But yeah, you do have to know how to read. And that's it. That's all you need to be successful in America. In the early days of me doing stand-up, when my oldest kids were very, very young, I used to do a joke. I did it about 4 times. It never got a laugh. Never once got a laugh, and then I stopped doing it. I believed it was very funny in a very cynical way. But the audience, I'm going to say, look, I was a little ahead of my time. How about that? I was a little ahead of my time, because my oldest kids were about 10 and 8. So we're talking, over 20 years ago, 25 years ago, actually, where I would go on stage and I would say, hey, my kids are 10 and 8. And I want to make sure that my kids are the most successful people in America by making sure that they were the dumbest people in America. Like, to the point where I would teach them that 2 and 2 equaled football or desk or something like that. And the crowds, they never understood what I was saying. And because I was too far ahead of seeing what was happening and where we were headed. But it never got a laugh. And I still, to this day, I still think it's funny in a cynical, tongue-in-cheek type of way. That if you want your kid to be successful, then make sure they're dumb. Dumb as a rock. Herschel Walker easily may be a United States Senator. And as I said, dumber than a box of Herschel Walkers. that dude, again, that's a dude where you go, how do you make it to your house every day? How do you leave your house and come back to your house? Because you don't have to know anything. So if you want a kid to be successful, then make sure your kid is the dumbest kid to walk on the face of the earth, especially in America. Well, I take it only in America, really, because that kid will be fine. Like I said, I saw a lot of this coming. I saw a lot of it coming. I would say back in the 80s, early 80s, a friend of mine who was a smart comic and a smart dude, he would tell me, hey, you got to watch this Beavis and Butthead. You got to watch that. And I remember seeing it debuting and then kind of seeing clips and snippets of it. And I was like, yeah, that's not for me. And so when it had been in, for a season or so, he's like, hey, do you watch that? And I said, no, I don't watch that. And he goes, oh, it's really funny. And I said, it's celebrating stupidity. And I can't be behind celebrating stupidity. He's like, yeah, I know, but it's really funny. And they do it. I think almost like he said that they do it in a smart way to poke fun of them. I'm like, no, there's no smart way to celebrate stupidity because you're making the stupid people be the stars of the show. And the idea that, oh, this is for smart people that realize they're stupid. No, that's not how it works. You ever seen somebody do some crazy type of stunt and they always say, oh, don't try this at home or don't try this? Who is that warning for? Who needs the don't try this warning? It's not the smart people. It's not the people who look at somebody doing something and go, whoa, that looks dangerous. I would never do that. No, it's for the idiots who go, I'm going to try that. And by the way, that saying don't try this is not stopping anyone. I would love to see those numbers. I'd love to see somebody come up with a testimonial that says, you know what, I was going to try that until I saw the disclaimer that said, don't try this. And that stopped me in my tracks. No, that's never stopped anyone in their tracks. Because if you want to do it, you're going to do it. Saying, don't try this is not going to be an impediment to somebody trying it. Because those idiots already have it in their heads. And people who aren't going to try it, they don't need to hear that. Because they're like, yeah, don't try it. Yeah, by the way, I wasn't going to. But thanks for reinforcing that I wasn't going to by you saying don't try it. But you didn't have to worry because I was never going to. Not even come close. I hadn't done the research. And I'm not going to do it. So I knew we were headed to stupid. This is where we are now. This is exactly what led us to this moment, is celebrating stupidity and believing, oh, look how funny it is. You know, you got the Beavis and Butthead, you got the Jackass, anything that's dumb. We love it. We can't get enough. You see those guys, those idiots that do that? I can't stop watching. Now, I can't stop watching. Now they're millionaires. So now other people go, well, looks like the way to get a lot of money is just do stupid shit. And this is where we are. You could have avoided this a long time ago, but we didn't. There was a point where I used to think that just in friends, in your group of friends, intelligence is shunned in America. Oh, what are you, Einstein? Mr. and Miss Know-It-All over there. Okay, all right. It should be embraced. Knowing things should be embraced. Knowledge should be embraced. This is the only country where it's not. The only country where it's shunned. You think that other countries that actually care about education or look at Mr. Genius sitting over there knowing all the answers? Like this, America's full of cool kids. We are cool kid idiots is what we are. Full of it. Used to be what was required as intelligence or thought of as having intelligence is being able to memorize and then regurgitate something that you saw on the Discovery Channel. Like that in your group of friends, somebody said something. Hey, you know what? I saw this in there, and then whales, blah, 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 blah. And we're like, oh my goodness, that guy's the smartest guy. Meanwhile, he watched something, he memorized it, and then he just spit it out to the group of people, and people go, that guy's smart. He's smart because he watched a smart program and remembered something. Well, this is where we are. We got a lot of crazy issues going on. I guess the main thing, because I try not to watch the news. That's my whole idea is you don't watch, so you have the ignorance is bliss thing that takes place. I made the mistake. I watched a little news, and I watched the wrong thing. I saw backlash over the General DeSantis. General. I bet he'd love to be general. Governor. Wow, that was quite a Freudian slip. General DeSantis. Governor DeSantis. But it was not on purpose. I apologize. Governor DeSantis and that woke act thing. And then there was another thing from Texas that was, I guess, kind of in line with it, where they wanted to rename slavery to involuntary relocation. So while teachers were teaching it, they would not utter the word slavery. They just would call it involuntary relocation. And it caused kind of a big little brush fire on social media where people were chiming in. There were a couple of things about it. One, the Woke Act was 2 months ago. It's odd that people were talking about it now, because I think it was signed in 2 months ago. And like I said, it's odd that people are discussing it now, but I guess maybe because now it's actually being implemented, and they were interviewing teachers and the teachers were being told how to present material and what to say and stuff like that. And again, I was ahead of my time. 11 years ago, there was a movement. I don't know why there was a weird thing that took place. 11 years ago, there was a movement to remove the N-word from Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn. And I wrote a piece for a show that I was doing at the time called the West Coast Funnies. An editorial piece about how they should not remove the word, that you got to leave all the things historically in the literature, so that we are aware of how far we've come and how far that we have to go. And the line at the end was that if we continue this revisionist literary history, my grandchildren will be the descendants of highly motivated volunteer cotton farmers. Now, that was 11 years ago. I saw that this was the danger of doing this. No, but no one listened. Look, I'm the Jor-El here. I may be so bold to tout my own, whatever it is. Tote my own cape, toot my own horn, tout my own something. 11 years ago, I saw this happening. I saw this is where we were going with this. Not that I was yelling at a bunch of people, but come on, people. I can't be the smartest person on the planet. I can't be. I can't be the smartest person on the country. I can't be the smartest because I don't even know how to use this preposition. I got so fired up. I can't be the smartest person in the country. How do we not see where things are going well ahead of time? Like I said, I'm the Jor-El here, yelling that, hey, by the way, I've seen some signs. This planet's about to explode. And Kryptonians are like, you know what? That crazy Jor-El. He don't know anything. He's crazy. He's so crazy. People, the stupid people are winning, and they're leading. And it's easy to lead stupid people because there's so many of them that you can get on your side. You can create a stupid army where the numbers are so massive that you can't defeat them, because it's almost like, oh, if I get rid of half of them, then they'll just be easily replaced by more stupid people, because there is an abundance of stupid people in this country. So now we're trying to make it so it's involuntary relocation. We can't say slavery. This is what happens when you start fooling around with words. We've been fooling around with words for a long time because, they sound better. And as a person who's in the word business, believe me, I know how it works. Let's go back. There used to be used cars. Remember that? Used car salesman. Then someone said, you know what? That doesn't sound good. Well, used cars has a bad feel. How about, hear me out, get ready, pre-owned. Pre-owned cars, huh? How's that feel? Swill that around for a little bit. See how that feels on your palate. Pre-owned cars. Used cars. Ugh. Used cars. Pre-owned. Ooh, that sounds much better. Has anything changed? Well, no. They're still the same car. Oh, okay. So we just call it something different, but nothing has changed in the car? Yeah, nothing. Nothing at all. Oh, okay. Well, that makes it sound better because I'm stupid. So we've been fooling around with words for a long time. Involuntary relocation. Remember that Ben Carson at a meeting said that these were, I think he called them, I forgot what it was. I should have looked it up, but I didn't know I was going to make this reference. He called them immigrants. I believe that he called them immigrants, like unwilling immigrants or something like that. That Ben Carson called black slaves like the immigrants, which I don't believe there's any power in the ancestors, because that dude should have been struck down dead in that moment by something. Somebody should have had some type of connection to a lightning bolt or something to dishonor slaves, which are his ancestors, and say, you guys were unwilling immigrants or involuntary immigrants or whatever it was, whatever the phrase that dumbass used. And by the way, not necessarily dumbass. He's a brain surgeon. I know people go, oh, well, he's smart. He's a brain surgeon. Well, again, here's the problem. We got a lot of dumb, smart people because it's not important. What would you rather have, street smarts or book smarts? He's book smarts. I'd rather have somebody that had street smarts, tell you the truth. Street smarts will get you through. Book smarts get you saying stupid shit like that. That's what it gets you done. So, yes, I've seen this. We've seen this coming. If you've not seen it coming, I don't know where you've been. But involuntary relocation. One of the main reasons they said it is because it makes younger people uncomfortable to talk about slavery. They go, it's uncomfortable for them, which is not the truth. Because if you don't have to go into the horrors of it, because no one ever goes into the horrors of it. Because if you went into the horrors of it, black people would be angry every single day. Lewis Johnson, who I do the show with, A Good Green Room, Mondays, every Monday at, I don't know, we keep changing the time. I'm going to say 4 or 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. He made a very good comment where he said, it's always the same issue, because when we see something like a movie about slavery, every black person leaves angry. We leave hurt and angry to know that people who came before us had to go through that. White people leave a slavery movie going, oh, that is terrible. They leave feeling disassociated because they don't believe it was connected to them. They don't believe that was people that was their ancestors. They don't believe it was people that live in this country. So they leave feeling that is a shame what happened to those people. Black people leave angry. Every February, I always say the same thing. Every February is Make a Black Person Angry Movie Month. Because it's always 12 Years a Slave, Selma, Rosewood. I think that's what the movie is. Rosewood, all those movies. A Time to Kill. All of these movies that just make people angry. Black people angry. And white people, that's a shame. It's such a shame what they did to those people. No. What people you knew did to those people. Again, we're going to go through this whole thing, this idea of this whole wash your hands. That, you know what? My family didn't own slaves. Okay. Again, I talked about this in a different episode. We know. Somehow only 4 people own slaves. Only 4 families own slaves, which, by the way, even if that were the case, it makes it even worse. Because it makes it that a whole bunch of people who apparently didn't find slavery correct wouldn't stand up to 4 people. So which one is it? Either a lot more of you own slaves or 4 people own slaves and your ancestors just didn't have the gumption to stand up to 4 people. What were they going to do? Make the slaves fight for them to keep the slaves? You could have easily talked the slaves into saying, hey, by the way, we're on your side. So we're going to attack these 4 slave owners. You can join us and then you'll get your freedom. Which side do you think they'd have selected? So pick a side. Either nobody owned slaves or 4 people owned slaves, or more you people had ties into slavery than you would like to admit. And even if you had no ties into it, you still went along with it. Your ancestors still went along with the enforcement of it. So quit with the bullshit of I wash my hands from this because you didn't do anything. But this whole idea of changing the language, this anti-woke act or whatever it is just to do one thing: make white people comfortable. Look, I'm almost on the side where I think that you need to make white people comfortable, because historically bad things have happened when white people are uncomfortable. White people are the least adaptable people on the face of the earth. Name a story in historical times where white people went to an area and just acclimated. You won't find one. It doesn't exist. White folks came to America, and there were people here. There were the Native Americans here, the First Nations people here. And white people came with guns and said, you know what? We don't really feel comfortable with all of your traditions and your rituals. So if you could just adapt to ours, that'd be good. Nice. That'd be good. Whatever language you speak, if you could just speak our language, we'd appreciate that. That would be good. That would make us feel more comfortable. And one more thing, we don't know what these gods are that you worship. So if you could just learn our religion and worship our God, that would also make us more comfortable. So if you could just be a deer and just do that for us, that'd be great. 'Cause if not, then we're going to kill you. That pretty much is the white person blueprint. So I may be all for you got to make white people comfortable. Otherwise, bad stuff will happen. Like I said, there's no time in history where white folks have gone into anywhere and they're like, oh, what do you guys do here? Well, can you teach me that so I can learn to do that? So I can blend in. Oh, hell no. That's not white people. White people are the least comfortable people on the face of the earth. Oh my goodness, you got to make them comfortable. Remember the lady? I'm going to give you all these recent stories. Remember the lady that was, all right, we can start here. The bird watcher dude, the black bird watcher, the lady's like, oh, I don't feel comfortable with whatever you're doing, and I'm going to call the police and say there's a black man making me uncomfortable, so then they'll show up. Remember that lady? Lost her job, people crying over her fact because all it takes is a white woman crying, and then all of a sudden people start feeling empathy for that woman or sympathy for that woman. All it takes is a white woman's tears. White woman's tears are the most powerful tears there are. We tried the thing with tears. We tried a Native American shedding a tear over littering. You ever gone up and down the road? Just as much litter. So, Native American man's tears, not as... We should have shown a white woman crying. If we'd have had that ad campaign with a white woman crying on the side of the road and making her dressed up as a Native American, then maybe there'd be less litter. But that, by the way, was an ad campaign for the kids out there. You remember that? They had a Native American crying on the side of the road when people would litter to try and get people to care more about the country and not litter. That's the genius of Madison Avenue. There was no Darren Stevens working on that ad. I'm going to tell you that right now. Darren would have been much more clever than that. But everything needs to be about white people feeling comfortable. I don't understand. I'm trying. I would love to try to sit down with white folks and go, why are you so uncomfortable? What makes you so uncomfortable when other people talk about what it is that they go through that is different than what you go through? Even the shows here where I did, I'm doing my shows. In the second show, there can be a little bit more race talk about it, but it's in a way where it's not finger pointing. But my race stuff is different. A lot of times a lot of comics will do racial material and then make their race be the butt of the joke or generalize with white folks and make it some corny over the top type of deal. Mine is very specific. Mine is extremely specific as to where I'm not making black people the butt of the jokes. And I'm being very specific about the things that I talk about that happens that are white things. And that probably makes people even more uncomfortable than had I been doing the regular type of stuff. But anyway, I made a mention about something very briefly. And a lady at the next day, she's like, oh, you were so funny. And she goes, you walked right up to the line. Meanwhile, I don't know what the line is because I'm not talking about sex and there's no profanity. So that makes it even worse that you're so uncomfortable with things that had no profanity and I wasn't talking about sex. What line is this? And she goes, well, maybe you've gone over a little bit with the race stuff. Meanwhile, all I'd mentioned was the fact that there aren't many black people on a cruise ship. And apparently that's what made them uncomfortable. It is going to make them uncomfortable tonight. It makes them always uncomfortable because they look around the room and they don't realize that, hey, you feel comfortable because there's someone that looks like you every direction that you look. It is a weird thing on the cruise ships because it is full of white people being served and waited on by brown people. But meanwhile, nobody says anything about that. You never hear them say, hey, I wonder why there are no white crew members. Why don't I see many white crew members working here in the restaurant and the waiters or my room stewards? They seem to be quite all right that those people don't look like them. Well, when the entertainers go on and we're all like the BB Kings is all black except for, one or two people on there. And then I'm black and I come up like the entertainers, we're black. We're not you. We don't look like you. And you seem to be okay with that. But when I mention that that's what's going on, then there's this, ooh, wait a minute. This is not right for you to say that. Because white people are soft. Kobe Bryant. Today is Kobe Day, by the way, in case you're wondering when I'm taping this. Today is Kobe Day. Yesterday was Kobe's birthday. Kobe said it best about his teammates. I'll apply it to white people. You're soft like Charmin. You're soft like Charmin. Not all of you. Not all of you. Let's not make crazy generalizations. Not all. But quite a few. The loudest ones, let's put it that way. The loudest ones are soft as Charmin. Remember a few weeks ago, I did a show here on the ship where I was talking about the genealogy results from my test. And I said that I was 81.7% sub-Saharan African, and to find out at this point in my life that I'm a mostly black man. And then I had talked about math earlier, and then I said the thing about how I found out I was 16.1% British and Irish. And a guy yelled up, "That's where you got your math skills from." He felt comfortable yelling that up in front of the group of people. And you know what the response in the room was? It was just silence, because once it registered with me, I said, "Boy, sir, that is amazingly racist and not surprising." But there wasn't a large amount of people to yell boo to him or go ooh to him in disapproval. No, they sat there. They were stunned, I'm sure. But when I say something about, no, there's not a lot of black people on here, their instant reaction as a group is to go, ooh. But a guy yelled up something inherently racist, and their reaction was quiet. At the end of the show, a few people came over to me and they go, "Oh, that guy, I'm sorry you had to deal with that." That's the same reaction you have when you leave a slavery movie. "Man, that is so terrible that you have to deal with that. That's so horrible that that would happen." Okay, well, that's your reaction. Your reaction is, that was terrible, and then you go on with your life. Do you see what I'm saying here? Your steps versus our steps are different steps. Some of the steps are the same. We care about our families. We want to have a nice house and a nice household and live in a nice neighborhood, and we all want to get along and stuff like that. Some of that stuff is all the same. Some of that stuff is common. But a lot of the stuff is not. And the fact that we want to speak about some of this stuff to let you know that this occurs, and we'd love for you to be, I don't know, as equally miffed as we are that it exists, that you want to do something about it to change it, I don't see as that being too much to ask. I don't know why it's so much to ask. The idea of saying that there was slavery in this country, it took place. It's not here anymore. Let's learn from it. Let's try to fix whatever the repercussions are from it, because how many times do I have to say this, for crying out loud? The day slavery ended was not the end. Nobody went, "Hey, it's no hard feelings. That was strictly business. Sorry. What, you want to live in my neighborhood? Great, go right ahead." Because that's not what happened. And it's still not what's happening. Because in 2022, a guy yelled up, "You must have gotten your math skills from the white genealogy in your DNA." But, it's racism is a thing of the past, right? We shouldn't be talking about this, right? We shouldn't say anything about it because it makes you uncomfortable, right? We may have to start making white people feel more comfortable, because I don't know if I see any of this changing. I see it getting more of a groundswell of, why are we talking about this? Why do we keep talking about this? Hell, LeBron James, he's black. He's made $500 million playing in the NBA. There's something for you people. I wish I had $500 million. Yeah, well, I also wish that you had an education. So we can both sit here with hands full of wishes, but the problem ain't getting fixed. So I don't know where we're going. I just don't. Like I said before, every episode now just seems like a repeat, for crying out loud, because it's the same issues. Talk less, listen more. Simple as that. Instead of going to the, this isn't right, those people are always complaining, this is listen. Listen. Quit being so soft. You know the phrase. Suck it up, buttercup. That wasn't a black person that came up with that, by the way. Suck it up, Buttercup. Listen more, talk less. And then maybe we can come to a resolution. I said a long, long time ago that the only way we're going to get to any type of equality or feeling of moving on in this country is to have the discussion. But I did not think that we had the balls as a country to have the discussion. That was 10 years ago. I believe it even less now. I believe our balls have shrunk. I believe they have atrophied, is what has happened. Because we're not. People want to move on without discussing what went wrong and without trying to correct any of the wrongs that were done. And I'm not even talking about reparations. I'm talking about just how the system works. Why the hood is full of black people and brown people. And white people want to say, no, that's about money. It's about money. Money's the problem. It's about money. Money's part of the problem, but redlining is a more part of a problem. And there's a reason why the hood has mostly brown and black folks in it. There's a reason why if you go, oh, well, when you associate what is a good neighborhood and you think, oh, well, it's a white neighborhood, that's a good neighborhood. Even though that may not necessarily be the truth, but it becomes an exclusive neighborhood because black and brown people couldn't get in there because the pricing and the loans and the banks, they were like, no, this is where they belong, is over in this area. And you got to be able to figure out how to fix that. You know what weird thing about neighborhoods, if I can go off on a weird tangent here? I've always found bad neighborhoods to be the worst neighborhoods as far as upkeep. And I always thought that was backwards because the people who live in that neighborhood, there's no other choices for them. Like nobody wants to live in a bad neighborhood. You live in a bad neighborhood because you have no other choice but to live there. Like if you could live in a good neighborhood, you'd be out of there. You'd live in a good neighborhood. So if that is your last ditch resort, is to be in a bad neighborhood, why wouldn't you have more pride in that neighborhood? Like it should be the cleanest neighborhood around because you think, you know what, we don't have anything else. We can't, what's next? Homelessness? So this is all we have. So maybe we should take some pride in the upkeep of this neighborhood. That's my thought. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't understand why I'm wrong. I've tried to look at it, and maybe you could let me know why I'm wrong on that. Email the show, oldmanisright@gmail.com. But I don't understand why that's not the case. But I live in a horrible neighborhood, which I am desperate to get out of. And it's dirty. It's the upkeep. No one cares. And I understand that part. I understand the downtrodden of no one caring. But you kind of should care because once you screw up that neighborhood, you have nowhere else to go. Where are you going to go? To another crappy neighborhood? So it should be the best. We should be the best kept lawns. It should be the cleanest streets and the most well-kept cars that we could possibly have. There aren't going to be any new cars, but you try your damnedest to keep your car looking all right. And it's all the opposite. Everything that I just said is the exact opposite in a bad neighborhood. Nobody cares. Well, what is this, trash? Let me throw it in here. Why should I care? It's a crappy neighborhood. I don't care. Yeah, but you live here. And you have to see it. There's I would say a self-esteem issue, but it's not self-esteem. It's a pride issue. That's the thing about living in a bad neighborhood. There's a lack of pride, a lack of self-pride, because you're there and then you get downtrodden and you get beaten down and you think, well, I don't care. no one else cares, so why should I care? And then that just becomes cyclical. And by the way, that's the hood, white folks. That's the hood life. That's where hood people live, or people who live in the hood. I don't consider myself a hood person. I consider myself a person that lives in the hood. But that's what we have to deal with. So while you have your homeowners association, because Bill decided to paint his front door blue, yeah, we're living with real life issues over here that we'd like to not be living with. But these are the sections of town that we are not destined to, because I don't believe your destiny is that you're there, but you have been confined to, subjected to, not subjugated. Look at me, I'm conjugating words like a crazy person that aren't even the right words. This is what happens when you go over an hour on the podcast and you're completely off of the outline. But anyway, look, we got to start making white people feel comfortable, because I don't think we've had all these years, and I don't think they're going to start feeling more comfortable. And I do get it. I do get it, white folks. I do get it. It would feel like it's a tsunami of minorities saying it's all your fault. And that's what makes you defensive. And that's what makes you feel uncomfortable. But you got to understand, I'm not sure anyone is saying that. I don't think anyone is saying it's all your current generation's fault. What they are saying is that we don't believe you're doing anything to fix it, which the problems aren't yours, but you're the only ones that can fix the problem, because the problem was caused by people who looked like you, and the system is built for you. So the only ones that can change the system, massive changes, are you. So that's why people keep bringing it up, is because they don't feel like you, the majority, are doing enough to fix it, because you seem to be happy and satisfied with status quo. You want to start? When you leave a slavery movie, be a little angry. When you hear something racist, be a little angry. What happened to shun? What happened to the shunning? Shunning is the only thing that works for society. That's the only thing that we have that is not violent, that works in society, that changes behavior, is to shun someone. No, I'm sorry, I can't be associated with you. You have these type of tendencies. You have this type of thoughts. I can't, because it's immoral. It's amoral. Let's put it that way. If you think that intelligence only comes from white people, then you're a jackass, and you should be shunned. No one. If you have friends, then your friends are of the same mindset. That's just how it is. Because I like how the people love to wash their hands. You know what? My friends tell racist jokes, but I'm not a racist. Yeah, you are, because you tolerate it. You tolerate racist jokes being told by people, and you just kind of roll your eyes. Well, then there's something inside of you that kind of wants that, because you don't stop them. You go, hey, by the way, I'm going to tell you the joke. Is this joke racist? Does it have any type of racial things where you're making fun of a particular race and that's the punchline of the joke? Because if so, I don't want to hear it. I don't know how hard that was to do. Is that difficult to do? Or is it you would end up looking bad for your status because you shun someone and it makes you look better that you're within their company? I don't know. We got no problem canceling people on hearsay. But when it comes to that, there's always got to be some defense. Well, you don't understand. You got to see the whole story. Okay. All right, I get it. You're right. Now, I'm not saying that the woke thing is, because look, I'm the dude in the middle. I'm common sense. That's where this old man is. Old man lives in common sense. And the idea is that some of the woke stuff is common sense. A lot of the woke stuff is nonsense. A lot of it is nonsense. I said this before, that the worst thing is the far left, not the far right. The far right are idiots. But the far left, the ultra woke, I came across some of the woke people the other night. This young couple, this girl was talking to me. She didn't know I was a comic till I told her I was the comic. We were just sitting there listening to B.B. King, her and her boyfriend or her husband. I don't know what their couple status was. And she said, is it always like this on the ship? Is it just always older people? And I said, yeah, it's Holland. It's a lot of older people on the ship. And she goes, well, the B.B. King, is it always this? That it's always black musicians? And I wonder how they feel about that. And I thought, that's weird. Like, now you feel bad for the black musicians? This is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I say when I say I make mention of it. But me making mention of it is, I don't need you to feel for me, because you can never feel for me. But this is the extra woke thing. Those black people are here in this room. I wonder how they feel. They feel exactly how you said. Hey, there's not a lot of us here. And that's the end. And we move along. That it's weird where I feel bad for that. No one needs you to feel bad. Just acknowledge that it's there and it's weird. And we move along. That's how it works. But yeah, some of the woke stuff is nonsense. Some of the things we're allotting and giving into. Yeah, I can understand why the people in the middle are angry, because some of it makes no sense whatsoever. But this is where we are, people. I don't got all the solution. I don't have money of the solution. I just don't. I just know it's boils down to white people comfort. Let's just leave it at that. You figure out what it is that's going to make you feel comfortable. Because we've been trying. Everyday minorities are uncomfortable, by the way. Every day. Because we got to worry about how we act, what we do, what we say, to make you feel comfortable. But not once. Well, maybe now, in today's society, you actually have to worry about what you say and what you do to make others feel comfortable. And you're mad as hell about it. So much so that you'll fight to change the system, which is what we were asking you to do the opposite way. So you can do it. You do have it in you. It's just what your motivation is. All right. That was a little heavy. I know. May have made some of you uncomfortable. I understand. But you know what? You'll get over it. You're strong. You're stronger than you think. And you'll get over it. I was also going to talk about Serena Williams briefly, because I'm well over on time, for crying out loud. I don't even know if you're still listening. I should have broke this into 2 parts. I still may. Serena has announced that she is retiring, even though she said she doesn't like the word retirement. She said she's moving on from tennis. That's the way that she's put it. Because, once again, words. I'm moving on from tennis. You're retiring. I don't like the word retirement. Yeah, but it is what you're doing, right? Can we cut through the bullshit and stop with the mincing of words? You're retiring. I don't care if you don't like the word retirement. The word exists, and it means exactly what you are about to do. So I understand the connotation that retirement is associated with old because old people retire, but you're an athlete. It's a different thing. You get to go to the next phase of your life, but you're retiring from the previous thing that you did. All right, there. Does that make you happy, Serena? And who doesn't love Serena? Well, I found out quite a few people don't love Serena. I was looking up the article because I wanted to see the thing where she said, I guess a Vanity Fair or Vogue article, where they took the snippet out because it made it seem like this was the entire article, but they look for the things that, the buzzwords that'll get you views, where Serena said that she wanted to build her family or grow her family, and how she was a little, I don't know, annoyed or upset. I don't even know if those were either the words that she used, but how it's different between male athletes and female athletes, because if a female athlete wants to grow her family, then she has to take time away or stop doing what she's doing, where a male athlete just lets the wife, have the kids, and then they can continue with their career, which I thought was an odd thing until I started doing more in depth. And I get it. It's just a thought. She probably was just having an interview, and these are thoughts that you have, and it is what it is. Because my first thought was, well, Serena, this is biology. This is how it works. I mean, I don't know what you're saying. Did you want it to be born a man? Because this is just how biology works. Women have children, And I get it. If woke people are listening, I get it. I know that statement is weird because technically a man can have a child if they were biologically okay. We get it. We get it, but you know what I'm saying. Supply me with the numbers again before you start spouting off with your wokeness. Give me numbers that are legitimate large numbers of men having babies. Okay? Then get back to me. But I was just saying that women have the babies, and that's how it is. And it is unfortunate. There are ways around it. You could have a surrogate. You could do other things, as far as the adoption. But if you wanted to have you to go through the experience of the childbirth, then that's just how it is. How it is. I got no other thing than that's just how it is. But that's the thing that people ran with. And then I did more research on it and realized, this was the whole thing. This was the thing for the right to jump on and just kind of say that, she's complaining because it's about gender and stuff like that. And then other people jumping in with their, what the definition of gender is and stuff like that. But I found one article that was a little crazy. This was an Indian, an article in an Indian newspaper or an Indian media done, where the heading was, Serena may be a great tennis player, but she's a horrible role model. And so I start reading this article from this person. And I thought, what in the world? And at the end, it just says that she's trying to be the victim because she's female and she has to quit her career even though she doesn't want to, and blah, 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 blah. And I thought, the fact that you started by saying that she's not a role model, maybe we've got different definitions of what the word role model means from here and in India, because Serena is an amazing role model. And a woman wrote this article, which also tells me something else that goes on there as far as this, I don't mean to generalize, but when you're in a country where honor killings are still a thing, where you can kill a girl in the family because she has brought dishonor to the family. I'm not saying it happens a lot, but it's still a thing in that country of India. So maybe there's a little problem there where we don't understand the value of women. Maybe that could be a little problematic if you got that type of seed somewhere in your farmland. But Serena, are you kidding me? She's not a role model? Strong, independent woman. Best to ever do it in a sport. The best. First of all, you're the best to ever do it in a sport. That alone makes you a role model, because other young girls can look and say, I can be that. I can do that. She was the oldest woman at 31 years old to ever be ranked number one. Where she, at 31, because at 31 in tennis, you're done. She stayed number one for almost 3 years, from 31 till almost 34. She grew up in Compton. Now, I understand, I don't understand what goes on in India, but I understand what goes on in Compton. And there ain't a lot of people who go, man, I'm going to be a tennis star in that day in Compton. She came up through that, had to deal with all sorts of crazy racism and type of digs at her body, digs at her play. Oh, she's too muscular. She's a man. All the other jackass comments that were said about Serena on her way up by people. Lifted her head high, held her head high with dignity and grace. In the article, they talked about her berating umpires, the couple of incidents where she had. Meanwhile, men do that all the time. Serena said it herself. Men do it, and they do it worse all the time. But somehow she did it, and now it's worse. She did it, and somebody felt compelled to say she's not a role model because she did it. How about the fact she stood up for what she thought was right, as opposed to meekly just going, oh, thank you, sir, may I have another? So, I forgot. I've written down the person's name, but I don't even care now. Jackass. How dare you? How dare you say Serena's not a role model? Whatever the fuck you've done in your goddamn life. Yeah, this one got a little angry. I got a little angry, more angry at this than I did in the other stuff that I dropped some profanity. Serena's a hell of a role model. And I wish her the best in whatever it is that she does. I am a better person, and my daughters are better people. And a lot of young girls are better people that they got to witness the greatness that is Serena Williams. And her sister Venus. People forget how good Venus was before Serena came on the scene. This was unknown, unheard of. Black women being dominant in tennis. People who don't like Barack Obama always say, well, what did he do? What exactly did he do? And I tell them the same thing. I will tell you the same thing about Serena Williams. Barack Obama and Serena Williams showed people who look like them that they can do what they did. They showed people that look like them that level of success is possible. And that's really all they needed to do. Because what were they going to do? Wait around until somebody said, oh, you know what, it's okay now. They needed to see somebody do it. You want a current example? If any of you saw the most recent Top Gun, the part where you've had to have already seen it by now. I'm not doing any spoiler alerts. Where Tom Cruise goes and runs the mission on his own to show the other pilots that it can be done. That's what Serena Williams did. So, Miss writer for that Indian newspaper, you deal with that. In the meantime, why don't you try to stop honor killings in your country? Write an article on that. Jackass. All right. Is there anything else? Because I am fired up. This episode may be 2 hours long, for crying out loud. I'm not interested in the python catch thing anymore. They had that python. They got the invasive species of pythons in Florida. It's so overwhelming that now every year they have this thing where they send people out to catch pythons. So people show up to go catch the pythons to try and get the numbers down. But there's no way that many people can show up to catch pythons, or if that many people are qualified or capable of catching pythons in that amount of numbers to where they would get it down. So this is almost, Florida is almost the case of there was an old woman. You remember that nursery rhyme as a kid? There was an old woman that swallowed a fly, and then she kept swallowing more things until the end where she swallowed a horse, and then the last line is, she died, of course. By the way, I remember as a kid that being the saddest, most traumatic nursery thing or whatever it is, nursery rhyme or song that I would hear as a kid. I remember hearing that because it's fun. You got to remember all the things that took place. And at the end, you're like, this is horrible. She died? At the end, she dies because she swallowed a horse? How did she swallow a horse? And then they go, she died. Of course. She died 3 animals ago. What are we talking about here? But that's horrible. Kids are sitting there just happy. She died. Of course. All right. Time for recess. But that's what Florida is. Florida is the old woman that swallowed a fly. So Florida is, hey, we brought home these rare animals and we can't deal with them, so we turned them loose. And now we've got monkeys running wild in Florida. We've got pythons. We've got all sorts of animals that were not here, but people brought them as pets and turned them loose. And now we have to send people in. And you know what happens at the end? They die, of course. The final story I will do in this supersized episode is about this slide in Detroit. This is funny to me. I don't know if you guys may have seen this story, this news story about this slide in Detroit. What's it called? Belle Isle. So they've got this giant, like a fair slide, with a big, huge slide with the waves and the bumps in it. So this slide apparently has been around forever in Detroit. Belle Isle Park is where it is. A gigantic slide. Now, they closed it down. They made some changes to it, and then they reopened the slide. The slide was open for 4 hours until they shut it down again because the slide was launching people, launching kids into the air, and as they slammed back down on this steel slide, they were, kids were a little shaken up about this thing, and so they had to close it and figure it out. If you see this story, you got to look and see these kids just flying down this slide. It tells me a lot of things. It tells me, one, people don't realize this, but the C- engineers have to work somewhere. They do. People think that all the people that made it to engineering, and all these people that are engineers, they're all aced. No, there's grades. And somebody with a C+ still has an engineering degree. They don't tell you what their GPA was. They just have the piece of paper that says, I'm an engineer. Same thing with doctors. Same thing with doctors. Hey, B- doctors also are doctors, people. C+ engineers are also engineers. And some of those engineers work in California on the 405, because there's some parts of the 405, specifically by, where is this, Huntington Beach area or a little bit before, where they're trying to do some lane widening, and they've made the lanes curve that if you were looking at them overhead, you would say, why would you do that to cars moving 65 miles an hour? There shouldn't be hairpin turns on the 405. But an engineer decided, oh, this is fine. We'll just change the lanes a little bit to here where they are close to hairpin turns. If you're not paying attention, you will run into the next lane. These are the C's, the C engineers. They still work. And this slide in Belle Isle Park in Detroit that is launching people into the air, that was an engineer that said, yeah, that should be good enough. I worked the numbers. I've got some leftover numbers, some leftover integers, but it is what it is. One of the kids that was interviewed said, he launched in the air and fell. He said, gravity hurts. Which, to that I say, no, dummy, gravity has no feeling. It has nothing to do with gravity. It has to do with the force of your body hitting the earth. That's not gravity. That's inertia. You dummy kid. That's just mean. That's just what happens when I've done this too long. But gravity has no feeling. Gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared. And that's off the top of my head, by the way. I probably should look it up to make sure I'm right, because I'm sure one of you people, that's not correct. I'm pretty sure it's correct. 9.8 meters per second squared. And it has no feeling, because gravity doesn't hurt, because gravity, that is happening all the time. So it doesn't hurt. Inertia may hurt. The force of stopping your inertia, that's what hurts, you dumb kid. Somebody teach that kid something. This is when you know I've gone on too long. Now I'm just attacking kids for no reason. Cute kid said gravity hurts. I can't leave it alone because the fallacy in his statement. All right, folks. It's time to wrap this up. Whatever this is, episode 32. Could be the last episode. I know it may have been a lot of people upset. You may not be tuning in anymore. But what am I do? You know, it is what it is. So I have a show tonight, and we'll see how that goes. I think maybe I got all my anger out, so that now I can do the show without any anger. Well, for that, I thank you, people. Thanks for being my sounding board for that aspect. I'm going to run tape tonight. Hopefully, maybe put up some clips. I'm going to run tape on all 4 of these shows, especially that 4th show, which is just me working out. And I've got some ideas that I think are going to be something that have nothing to do with white people being uncomfortable. So maybe hang in there with me. Just going through a thing if it makes you uncomfortable. Like I said, I don't want to do a generalization of all white people. I'm just talking about the white people that I'm talking about. Whatever that means. All right, folks. Got a little over 2 weeks left. And then it'll be homeward bound to my crappy neighborhood that, like I said, I cannot wait to get out of. Hopefully, within the time that I'm home, I can find a place to get out of there. Find a time to get out of there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll keep you posted. I thank all of you for tuning in. I could not do this without you. Actually, it turns out I could. I could do it without you. But it wouldn't be as much fun. It just wouldn't. Because it's just me talking into a microphone. And I'm doing that without you. But as far as the podcast and keeping it going, that I couldn't do without you. And I appreciate each and every one of you. You can find all things Lamont Ferguson at lamontferguson.com. I got to work on the website, but it's hard to do on the ship. Good Lord, you talk about speed of gravity. This is, I don't know what speed this internet is working this week. Good grief. It's less than dial-up. I feel like I'm at the last hour or so of my AOL disk, for crying out loud. Is that what they're doing here on the ship? But you can find all that stuff at lamontferguson.com. You can follow me at social media. It's always at TV Funny, man. That's the social media stuff. I'm deep into the pickleball. There was no pickleball today because it was raining. But hopefully be able to get some games in tomorrow. We'll see what goes on. I'm at a frustrating point, as I told you earlier, in my pickleball development. Hopefully I can break through that. Much like a weight loss thing. You know, you break through that barrier and then you're off and running again. That's kind of where I feel in pickleball. As far as the weight loss go, I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. You can tune in every Monday to Lewis Johnson and myself on A Good Green Room. That's the chat we do on A Good Green Room. That's on Facebook Live. You can find us there. I think 4 or 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I believe that's what the time is. I think that's right. I think it's 4 or 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I think that's about it. I think that's all I've got. I got no mo. I talked about a lot. Good grief, I talked about a lot today. I talked about how you don't have to know anything in this country. I still believe that. See, I go over things in my head after I say it. And then later on, I kind of go, where were you on that? And that's still true. You don't have to know a lot of things to be successful in America. White people are horrible at being uncomfortable. I still believe that. That is still true. That nursery rhyme thing in Florida, it's a good comparison. It's a good analogy. Look, there may be some things I may have said that may be a little askew. Okay? I admit that. I admit sometimes I've said things that may not have been correct. I didn't think them out all the way. But you know the deal. Sometimes the old man is right. I'll see you next time.